Do you get nervous about stuff like this or not?
All the time, man.
Do you?
Yeah, don't worry about it. It'll get better. Yeah, it'll get better. I get better, yeah, especially when you're dealing.
You tell me that it's gonna get better. He says, "Yeah, I still get nervous." I'm like, oh, "Okay, so."
Yeah, but that's part of the game, man.
So,
absolutely, it's part of the process. You can't get success without enjoying that.
Yeah.
There's no lottery. It's that process that you're gonna have to embrace.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the quote that Theodore Roosevelt about the men in the arena?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of like the one when I need courage, I'm like, you know what, I'm in the arena, and the people that I'm trying to get is people out there, también,
absolutely.
like doing their stuff. Pero bueno. Listo?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
I'm ready.
All right, sir. Well, like I said prior to starting, I'm very excited about today. This is the first time we meet. I've been following you for social media, and it's very evident that you're someone that is very disciplined, hardworking. You have a lot of goals. You're working towards your goals. So I'm very excited about today, about the questions that I have prepped for you. Hopefully you enjoy this conversation. But again, I just want to on air tell you that once again, I'm thankful for you to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it. Like it's always a humbling opportunity when other people are trying to do the right things and just kind of trying to network with the right people. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. Absolutely.
Nice. Well, thank you again, Senor. Let's jump in. Please tell us who Rick Moreno is.
Rick Moreno, born and raised in El Paso, Texas. Proud to be an El Pasoan, though I have been one of the individuals who is proud to say that I had an opportunity to live on both the West Coast and the East Coast. And it really made me for the better. I mean, I'm a small town boy. My graduating class was something around 20 to 25 people. It was tiny. There was one hallway in my graduating class. So when I ended up leaving to LA and then also leaving to New York City, I mean, my graduating class at NYU graduated at Yankee Stadium. You had Steven Spielberg and Michael Strahan were the guest speakers at our graduation. So it was a culture shock for me, to say the least, eye-opening for me. I felt a lot of times I didn't belong. When you grow up in a small town where frankly, things were a little bit easy to get to where you need to because you're not competing with a lot of people per se, right? But once you get to a town like New York, and there's a internal saying that New York either embraces you and makes you their own, or it spits you out very quickly. There's really no middle class or no in between for New York. People that are coming to New York, you either hate it or New York really loves you, and thankfully New York loved me, and it made me stronger, it made me a little bit have more grit. So I'm super thankful for that. And then to come back, but I always knew I wanted to come back, Eli. I always knew I wanted to come back and give back to my community, be a source of information for the people that needed it. Just grew up super poor, 6 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. Parents are immigrants. My dad, my mom, she picked in the fields in California, northern and southern California, grapes, tomato, cotton, you name it. It was part of the family economy at that time, if you will, to bring, they would go in the summer and in the verano, they would go and pick whatever product that was necessary. And usually the goal for my grandfather at the time was so that they could buy something big for the family, maybe a van for that summer, so that way they could go get from point A to point B. So I have pictures that I'm going to frame and make them super nice and big one day when I'm a lot older to always remind me, it's like 4 or 5 of my uncles lined up with my grandfather and my mom, and they were picking the fields. And my grandfather was always wearing a top hat, always looked nice, always dressed even to the fields. So that kind of set the tone as to the type of expectation as a worker, as a leader, what you do when you come into work. You better bring it. So that's kind of a little bit about what my story is. My dad, he graduated. He was a valedictorian in his class in Mexico. His Monday close was his Wednesday close. Tuesday close was his Thursday close. And so, yeah, they were poor as well. They had an adobe house up on the hills in Mexico, and it was poverty. So kind of like a love story. My mom ended up moving to California and Silver City, New Mexico, because my grandfather was a miner for several years, and then this is before social media, so my dad would write letters to my mom asking for her back,
And this is from Mexico, right? When your
He
dad
was
was
my
still in
dad. My
Mexico?
dad was in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
My mom was already in the United States, and so that's kind of how he kept. I mean, we always talk about my brothers like we would have quit. There's no way that we would have sustained that. But that's kind of like, you know, the Notebook. You know, that was my dad. Like that's what he kind of made it happen that way, and he got an amazing woman. I mean, my mom I think is just a special superwoman. So, but that's a little bit about my family. 6 kids. I'm the fifth of the 6. Four boys and 2 girls, all ultra competitive, sore losers. We all hate to lose. It was a competition. I mean, we had to become competitive, Eli. When you're poor as heck, you know, by the time you get to the second child in the restroom, the water turns cold really quick. So you had no other choice but to be competitive. So my mom would kick us out. We would play sports and come back in time for dinner, and super involved in the church at the time. So I really enjoyed my childhood. We were poor, but we didn't feel poor. You know, we knew we were poor, but we didn't. I also knew it was temporary. But that's kind of a little bit about my early childhood. Yeah.
Nice. And we'll get back to it, by the way. Now, I was doing my research on you, sir, of course. And I found out that you got your first home when you were 19. Mm-hmm. Extremely impressive. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about your story in real estate, please.
Don't get so impressed, man. Impressed, yes, because I had the discipline, because I knew that I didn't want to be a renter for a very, very long time. One of my teachers in high school, I had made fun of him wrongfully so. Bless his heart. He, not in a cocky way, but I knew that he was pretty much letting me know as a student that I make more money outside of my teaching career, and I called bluff on it. I was saying, this is bullshit. I don't believe it. Or else you wouldn't be teaching, right? It was just that I was that kid that was always inquisitive. That I'm like, I don't believe it. Long story short, right before my graduation, I got like a small award for his class, and he invited my mom and dad, and he lived in Las Cruces. And then when I saw his house, I was like, this is not a teacher's salary house. And then I was all in, and I started asking the right questions. What is it that how did you do this? Are you a trust fund baby? I was already a mocoso that way. I was like, are you a trust fund baby, or where'd you get this money from? Life insurance policy? I was being that kid, right? And he's like, no, passive income. And I'm like, what's passive income? And that started my journey. So by the time I was 17 when I left my town of Anthony, and I went to go move to California. I just started saving everything that I possibly could. I moved in with my family, my cousins. Thankfully, they helped me out. They gave me a place to stay. And then I ended up saving enough money for a down payment on a house. Then my sister was transferring. She's a flight attendant. She was transferring from Chicago, I believe, or Indianapolis to LAX. So it made it easy for me to transition, because she became one of the people that moved in with me. But I almost foreclosed on that house, man. I literally almost foreclosed. So that's why don't be so impressed. I was 19, dude.
You know
in
what?
California, where crap's expensive.
Right. You know what is very impressive? That you were asking those questions when you're in high school?
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking this to your high school teacher. So you're 16, 17, and you already had that mindset of wanting to find out why this was happening, and that you were wanted to mirror the same thing. So that alone, it's very impressive.
Maybe, Eli, but you know what it is that, I'm like being proud of my upbringing, right? But it's also something that, I mean, cuando no tienes nada, when you don't have anything, literally, like, my mom's favorite word was, you have to share. And I'm like, this is crap. Like, why do I have to share if I'm the one who found the 25 cents under the couch? Like, this is not communism. What the hell? This is not socialism. I was literally like, so in our family, we became very competitive by lack of resources, if you will. Not because and we also learned to give because we were forced to learn to give, and then it became part of our nature. But I guess the fear of sustained poverty for me is what drove me to what you're talking about, those questions, because I did not want to be that way for a very long time. Like, I was happy. We played outside. I had a loving family, thankfully for them. Like, I could say that I had an easier route in regards to the support from my mom and dad, because they were amazing, God-fearing parents. But we didn't have anything. We didn't. I never had a bike, man. I never owned a Nintendo, a PlayStation. All those things we had when we went to go meet friends. So I was excited when I went to go see my friends. I remember one time I borrowed a bike from my friend because it was too far, it was too late, and his mom was being nice, like, we have 3 bikes, take one of the bikes, take it home so that you don't have to worry about walking home. So they were being nice to me, dude, and my mom and my dad ripped my ass because I had a borrowed bike. Once again, welcome to the traditional Mexican household where aquí no vas a andar con cosas que no son.
And most likely they thought maybe it was stolen as well.
It was stolen because I never gave me a bike or whatever the case may be.
All right, I know that we'll come back to it, but I am very curious because you do realize that even though you're telling me that you learned from this negative experience, but what I have found, and correct me if maybe you think otherwise, is that from a negative experience, either you can take the route that you took as far as you're not making it a positive, or you can just turn that mindset into that just the way it is, and that's how I'm going to be as well.
Absolutely. You couldn't put it any better, actually. I mean, part of me being a leader or mentor to any person that wants to listen to any talk that I do is that the one thing you cannot control is who were your parents and your birth, right? You can't control that. You can't control if you came from an affluent family or a poverty-stricken family like me. I cannot control that I'm a son of immigrant family, a mom who picked in the field. I cannot control that. But what I can control is that day forward, right? And so I think we complain about everything wrong with us. We're in a woe me society. Look at me, woe is me, and we victimize. And by the time we're spending so much time victimizing ourselves, Eli, that we don't realize that the human spirit is a very resilient mechanism, if you will. It could withstand the harshest of pressure, but we don't test ourselves that way. We don't do that extra rap.
Why do you think that is?
Because of fear, right? You know, I'll give you an example. I'm not a fighter or anything like that, but like if you ever see UFC and someone gets knocked in the face at the right spot, at the right velocity, the right pressure, what happens to that guy's brain? Well, it shuts down like a computer, right? You see them just turn stiff, right? And that's the brain protecting the body from further damage. So the brain is not good for dreams. The brain, what the brain does is protect you. So it operates in what I call in a lot of ways, not all the time, but in a lot of ways, it operates in fear mode. And fear prohibits you from growth, right? And so I learned to operate with my heart and make a shit ton of mistakes that way. I do, but because I make my decisions so much quicker than I would say other people, I make a lot more mistakes, but I get to my destination quicker. So instead of people like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I think I should invest in talking about my field, or I think I should meet this person, I think I should ask this girl out, ask this guy out, whatever the case may be, do it. Do it. Make your mistake, take notes, reflect, and move on. You're not, my mentor in New York City, he's a Chinese criminal defense attorney and a big-time real estate developer, but he literally would analyze a person so quickly and then get the information, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go home, we're going to talk about this, we're going to do this, this, and that. He'd be like, let's go. And I'm like, Irvin, you don't even have 70% of the information. He's like, I don't, but the 69% that I have is worth me taking the risk. And I'm not going to waste my time so that someone else can take that risk for me. If I fail, I know where to correct it right away. And so those are the lessons that I learned. So I make my decisions pretty quickly in life, and I make a lot more mistakes. But as a result, I get to the destinations that I want a little bit quicker. My path is a little bit clearer because I know exactly. It's just, there's no failure for me. There really is no failure. There's no you competing against me competing against another person. I have no competition. It's me. It's me every day. So when people talk about rankings and this or that, me vale. Because I know where I want to be. You know, it's very clear and evident as to what I want to do. And so that just requires me putting in the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so encouraging to hear you say all these things. I know I have a lot more questions around
mindset
and all that.
Go ahead.
But let me start with that. Is this, you think that you're born with a mindset like this? Is this in your experiences, like your childhood? Can an adult person that knows that for the most part they always are negative, or maybe they're afraid of again putting themselves out there? is this a skill that you can learn, or is
Absolutely.
this something?
Absolutely. You know, I think there's certain people that have this God-given unique ability. Like I could sing a little bit, but I see certain people, I'm like, it's God-given. Or, you know, I saw this guy on one of those talent shows. He's blind and autistic, and he was playing the piano. I'm like, that's God-given. Like you're special. Like God just put a special drop of creation on you, you know. But I also believe that there's people that if they hang around the right people, they put in the grit, the work, and put their head down, don't worry about the noise, cut their circle of friends very tight, they become very polished, Eli. And when they become polished, it becomes so impossible for someone who's not polished to destroy that, right? And so the reason why I'm confident in my field in certain aspects of with people or whatnot is because I know I put in the time.
Yeah.
And mathematically, I feel that it's impossible for someone who hasn't put in the time to beat me in my field. Once again, I'm not trying to go on any rankings. My goal is very specific. Very few people know exactly what I want for my retirement. And I don't really care about what my awards are. I'm talking about, like, once you become polished and you know exactly what you need to do, it's a mindset. And so that's why I kind of gravitate to just the crazies. The crazies are the ones that, you know, they're people don't really understand why they're that crazy, why they're that driven, why they're so. It's that's kind of like, you can develop it.
You can develop it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's funny how we were talking a little bit before we started recording the podcast, how in my take, it's kind of like a similar mentality. And the thing when I'm doubting something, it's always courage over comfort.
Absolutely.
Courage over comfort.
Love
and
that.
Just do it, you know?
Love that.
Because the consequences, going back to, like, there is no competition, it's all me.
Yep.
You know? And what I'm trying to teach my daughter, and what has helped me with my confidence, is just small wins. If I do this and I have built enough small wins, that's going to help me with the next step.
Absolutely.
Right? So we'll go back to that for sure. But let's go back to the start in real estate. I know, even though you had that experience with that high school teacher, yourself were a high school teacher for 12 years, right? So tell me how you started. How did you take that risk going from a high school teacher? First of all, why you became a high school teacher, and then how you took that risk to become a full-time real estate agent?
Well, I did not want to become a high school teacher, number one.
Okay.
I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur of some sort. I just didn't know what, right? And then I remember I was visiting my family. I was almost finished with college or whatnot, and then my former football coach was extremely ill. So I came down to go visit him, and he was in a hospital in Las Cruces, and I remember visiting him, and then he kind of, like, it was weird, it was odd. He just said, "You're going to be coaching here," and I'm like, no way. There's no way. I don't want to be doing that. And he kind of laid it down, like, he's like, you listened to me. You didn't come back like everyone else comes back to the high school football games when you're removed from high school and try to be the cool kid, like, oh, look at me. He's like, you never came and visited us. You listened to me when I told you don't come back until you've grown and made something of yourself. I remember those words. He told me, don't come back. Don't be one of those losers that just comes back and visits and just chills at the high school gym. And I didn't. Once I was gone, I was gone. And when I came back to visit him, that's when it started, my path. And so lo and behold, several months later, I became one of the teachers and one of the high school coaches. And then I fell in love with him, man. I would have done it for free if it wasn't for bills, honestly.
You really have to love teaching in order to stay a teacher.
I don't love the bureaucracy behind it. I don't love the red tape, and definitely I don't like where the education sector is heading now. I definitely do not. God bless all those educators out there, and my hat goes off to them. As a former educator myself, I understand the pain that they go through. The purity of it, like me being in the classroom and just going, all out on teaching a lesson, and you see the kids like, oh my gosh, like I'm engaged. That I miss the preparation for my games, being the analytical guy, always making sure that I was always prepared. If we lost, it wasn't because I wasn't prepared. It was because we got beat, And so but during the 12-year span, I was already investing. I was already
You
buying.
already had, again, this passive income.
Absolutely. I was already buying property. And it got to the point that it became, I had to do astronomical work in order for me to sustain both. Like I was waking up super, super early to write emails, to prepare my predetermined text messages that I was going to send once the day started for people in the real estate world. I was doing my grading super early for my classes. So by the time like lunchtime rolled around for me, I was already knee deep in real estate and teaching. Whereas most teachers, they were just chilling at the lounge, and there was not a wasted minute for me, if you will. And so it got to the point that it was too much. Like I was already making maybe 3 times the amount of my passive income, and I wasn't even putting my work ethic into it as much. And I was like, this is, though I love it, I have to let it go. It was overwhelming at that point.
Okay. How long did it take you as far as you thinking about it? Because, I mean, even though maybe you were making more money, but it was still an 8 to 5, you know, it was something that you have your, the income coming in, your benefits, I'm sure that maybe played a role. Yeah. How long did it take you just kind of like decide that, you know, I'm going to go all in on this, even though you already had
you know, 1 year is, and you hit a topic that I'm just going to go on a different quick random topic. For those individuals, especially during COVID, Eli, like it's given birth to a lot of creativity and a lot of pain, right? You know, I believe through pain, ideas are born. Comfort is your worst enemy. It really is. Sustainability and practicality, all those words, all these adjectives that I'm spitting out, they are your poison for your success. So you have to seek avenues that are completely different, that are completely uncomfortable, that are against the grain, if you will. And so I knew that every day that I would look when I was going to school, I just saw it, for better choice of words, not picking on anybody, I just saw comfort amongst all the people that were there. But they were complaining about everything. And I'm like, well, do something about it. You are the creator of your own path. If you're not happy with you're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, then what are you doing? Well, it's because of my benefits. I'm like, well, if you're getting paid $300 from your employer for your health insurance, well, figure out a way to be an entrepreneur and make $600, and you control your time. So these things started, like when you were talking about benefits and this and that, I realized that I cannot make my job my reason, or the stability of my job, the reason why I don't launch and to become my own businessman, my own entrepreneur. So for those individuals who maybe lost their job during COVID, God forbid, they lost someone who was a financial provider in their family, it sucks. It really does. But maybe that's an opportunity for you guys to develop this unique work ethic that is in there. It's in there, Eli, and the best companies on this planet, small or large, were usually made at the back end of something that was a struggle, right?
Again, I agree 100% with what you said, and I know we're going a little bit off the subject, but the truth is that I feel the same way. Let's put COVID 2020 as an example. If you don't have a death in the family, if you don't have even if you lost your job, by the way. But the truth is that the friends that I have on Facebook, or maybe the ones that I talk to, like they have this mindset of, oh, this is the worst year ever. I want this year to be over. I'm so hoping for 2021. And the fact is, again, if there is no deaths, right? If even if you lost your job, the truth is that in my mentality, even with this year, to me, there's more ups and downs, you know? And the thing is that if you didn't make it happen in COVID or again, no death, the truth is that you're not gonna make it, because even maybe next year or in 3 years we don't have COVID, but there will be something's gonna happen. And if you don't find a way to make it happen yourself, you know what, the COVID wasn't the excuse, to be honest with you.
You know, COVID's here, COVID's real, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna make me operate in such a fear mechanism, if you will, that I'm not gonna succeed. And you know, there were so many ugly things that happened within this country, the election, COVID. I'm not going to get into politics, what side anyone's on, but like I was telling people, like I'm going to do fine with Democrat or Republican money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't cash a blue or red dollar bill. I cash a green dollar bill. And the sooner people realize how to maximize their value, then they become almost in the workforce. If you're an employee, you become irreplaceable because you created such a value for yourself, right? I have some contractors that said, no, I'll rather collect unemployment than take a $300 pay cut. And then, but the back of my mind, I'm like, what are you going to do when this dies down a bit, or it becomes the norm? And then now you need a job, and now I look at you almost with disgust because you didn't want to man up. You were given a job opportunity. There's people out there that are dying, bro. They're dying to get a job. Yeah. And there's 3 guys that said, you know what, I'd rather take unemployment. And nothing against unemployment. Once again, I'm not going to ruffle anyone's feathers, but if you are willing and able to work, if you have hands and feet and air in your lungs and the ability to breathe and the ability to think for yourself, get your ass to work, create some value for yourself, inspire others, impact a multitude, and eventually you'll be rewarded with the pay later. That's the problem with our society. We want pay now, but you haven't shown me your value. No. Show me your value first, and the pay follows.
Yeah, and all that is with mindset. Yeah. I mean, as you know, I showed you the hair salon. I mean, you can just imagine our business went down 40%. Yeah. I have a full-time job. I was using that income to make sure that I still stay open. And you asked me, 2020 was the best year.
Yeah.
You know?
Good. That's the way to do it.
I mean, because the truth is that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah. I mean, it's up to you the way you want to see it. And I might be wrong. 2020 was the worst year for me ever. Mm-hmm. But by me just thinking that way, I can't lose, So again, we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Pero señor, thank you for that. I really appreciate you spreading your knowledge around this topic. Let's go back to real estate. Mm-hmm. How long were you as a real estate agent before you open up your brokerage, your business?
In Texas, you only have to be a real estate agent. At that time, it was 5 years, right? And that was the mindset from day one. I wasn't going to be a realtor for too long. It was just going to be I was going to be my own broker, my own company. I was an investor before I became a realtor. So I'm 40 years old. I've been investing for 20 years. I've been in the real estate market or real estate game for 20 years. So half of my life, if you will, I've been doing this, right? And the idea that once that time frame lapsed, I was going to become my own broker and owner. My first office was in a trailer. We had an office trailer. I moved my brother from Phoenix. He had a great paying job. I think he was cracking 6 figures in Scottsdale or somewhere in Phoenix, or Tempe, Arizona, somewhere around there in the Phoenix Metroplex. And he looked at me, he's like, "Why am I going to leave, bro? I'm coasting. I'm doing great. I have my own condo, have my nice car. I'm making great money. Phoenix, life is great." And so I asked him to come back to El Paso without, we had an office that was like kind of like a spotty trailer, if you will. And he went all in. And so that's kind of where we started. I didn't believe in leasing a space at that time. I wanted to own. So then I bought a foreclosed property on Montana. And so that's kind of what started here in El Paso. But I was already buying a lot of property, different parts, from Arizona, Nevada, California, Texas, all over Texas. But I'm excited about it, man. The life is going to get even better now with all the unique circumstances that are circling around our country. They're just going to create more opportunities, I believe, in the real estate market, if you will.
Nice. So since the beginning, you already had this mindset already that when you started, that was kind of going to be it was your goal. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on maybe the people that have been in real estate for 10, 15, 20 years, and maybe they don't have that? I mean, of course, it's everyone's choice to do it. They have their own reasons. But what is the common reason why they don't open their own thing after they have that experience? And maybe
you mean become a broker?
Yes.
It's not for everyone. I think some people could do very well becoming a high-producing individual agent under a brokerage, Eli, and do very well. And nothing's wrong with that. But it's not for everyone. There's a lot of liability. It's expensive to become a broker. You carry all the blame, sometimes very little of the glory. and you have to spend time training and mentoring the right people, firing and hiring. And so that takes those line items that I just spit out right now for you. It's not what you guys see on Instagram. It's not what you guys see on HGTV. It's not the glam of closing a deal. It's the back end stuff that a lot of you may be good at closing a deal, but you may suck at training someone or inspiring another person. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's not for everyone. Some people are actually better at just leading than they are producing. So thankfully I like doing both. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think why people don't, and also fear too. It's one thing to be a good agent. It's another thing to be a broker.
Yeah. And it's funny how we're now talking specific about becoming a broker and all that, but the same thing applies to everything, right?
Absolutely.
Everything else. Senor, before I ask you specific questions on the El Paso market, how big is your company? I know that you don't focus a lot on having many agents. You focus on the quality of that, but I'm just curious, how big is your company right now?
We have 22 agents. I have 22 agents outside of my staff, and we're about to have... we are getting another agent in Austin. We just finished picking up an agent in Austin, which was before Christmas. We had our conference call. She said that she's coming on board. So I'm going to be flying to Austin with my team, with my leadership team, to try to have an onboarding process for them. And so my company is going to be opening up shop in Austin, which is great. Probably have 2 more recruits in Austin lined up, and then I have 3 more new agents that are coming on board within the next month. So if all works out by the end of February, I think I'll have maybe a total of 27 agents.
Wow, sir. Thank you. What do you look for when you hire someone?
First thing I look for is humbleness, man. They got to be willing to help and serve everyone around them. Our company is very unique in the sense that, we're not perfect, and there's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of veterans and there's a lot of rookies and whatnot, and it's a good mix, right? But I want someone who's willing to help their brother or their sister within the company, right? I think that real estate can get very selfish and very catty and very me. Whereas our company is about us. You need me to help you, we'll do it. Like right now, as we were starting, one of my Airbnbs was having trouble. One of my awesome agents, he went over there to go open the process, because I can't go. I'm with you. I can't. So they went out of the way on a Saturday, the day after Christmas, to go ahead and do it. That's the kind of people that we bring on board. They got to be selfless, and because of that, then they get rewarded. They really do get rewarded by. I take care of them. Not only that, but I think I'm also looking for a creative individual, someone who has a problem stuck in their face and they're able to solve it without me rescuing them every time. I want problem solvers, not problem creators. I am also looking for someone who is willing to be big on converting on the phone and not be fearful of that. I like it when a person, I could say, here, go ahead and take my call. It's my phone here, take my call. And they're like, okay, let's bring it. And even if they suck, I'm not looking for perfect. I'm looking for someone who
has that courage, right?
Absolutely.
And obviously wanting to learn.
Absolutely.
And all that. Wow. When I was reading watching one of your podcasts, I remember at that time, which wasn't a long time ago, you only had 13. So now hearing you kind of like how you have expanded and your plans, I mean, that's very impressive. Related to that, but not really, I'm just very curious, to be honest with you. What is your take on real estate agents that buy their, let's say, their Instagram followers? That's a good question.
I need some vino for that one. But you know what? To each their own, Eli. I think it was a craze that started. I would say you probably would know more about this than me, because I'm not overly big on that. But I would say maybe it started like a couple of years ago. People were starting to do that. But I haven't done that just because I don't have a lot of followers, but I think the people that I do have, they appreciate the content that I give them. And so if you're able to do it and you buy followers, but then keep the followers by giving good content, well, the sky's the limit, right? I don't even know if that's even possible anymore. Can you still buy followers?
I don't know about that, and the reason why this question just came up. Well, I was thinking about this is that I follow a couple of realtors, and you can see 15, 20,000, but then you see the engagement. That's where you can check. And to be honest with you, again, I don't judge. I personally wouldn't want to do business with someone that's already faking someone to begin with, even though maybe they're really good at whatever they do. But in my opinion, and the things is, again, the way I think I wouldn't. But again, if it works for them, of course, we have to respect that. But then having, again, as the real estate world is a lot of competition out there. So maybe that's kind of like what they're trying to do to beat the competition. But the fact is, in my opinion, it's not.
Yeah, it's, you're talking about engagement, right? So let's say you have 10,000 followers and then you post something and it less than 10% of your followers like it or engage in it. Well, then just by the numbers per se, it looks good on the follower side, but not enough people are showing up to the concert. That not enough people are showing up to your concert, if you will. So, I mean, here's the thing, man. When it comes to social media now, like I said, I'm not the expert on that, but I'll tell you what kind of people I'm gravitated to on YouTube, because I'm always listening to YouTube and podcast or different stories or whatnot. I don't ever look at the followers. I am looking at what can I learn? What nugget can I pick up? Ooh, I like that quote. Damn, I didn't think about it that way. You know what? I was doing that, but I haven't looked at it this way. And so if you're able, and it doesn't matter on age, I don't really care how old the person is, if they could be 22 or they could be 65. As long as I'm able to learn something from you, I'm going to be engaged. But if it's the same old thing, same old stuff, then I won't be able to do it. I won't be able to do it. So
no. Well, thank you for sharing that, sir. I want to talk about the El Paso market, if you don't mind. Is it still crazy right now? I know we've been, pandemic, 8 months, 9 months? I don't even know now.
Yeah, it's. I think people are over it. I think just people in the country are over it. They're trying to, normalize themselves a little bit better. And then you have this certain group that's really apprehensive with still doing anything. And that's okay. You have to respect all sides. As far as the real estate market's concerned, it's still pretty hot. Especially if you're a seller. If you're a seller, I would suggest you ride the coattails of this crazy unique market called the COVID market, where you're just going to get a number thrown at you and hopefully it sticks to the wall, and it's going to be something a lot higher than what you normally would get in a regular paced market. Just because of the reduction of sellers. Now you have inventory of buyers because of interest rates being so low, that you're going to be able to get a stronger buyer, if you will. And so I don't believe interest rates are going to be that low, sustainably that low for a long time. We've been spoiled rotten for many years, talking about this administration and the previous administration. We have been spoiled with pretty low interest rates. I don't think they're going to stay that low forever. It's a Band-Aid, just so that we could pump a steroid shot, if you will, into our economy so that more home buyers can occur. So if you're thinking about selling, that old cliche, the best time is now, that realtors were lying. But now it really is. Now the truth is, now is the best time, because you're going to get the most money. You're going to get above asking on your property. If it's look like it's in decent condition, you'll be able to get a solid price tag thrown your way.
Nice. Doesn't it though backfire? Well, again, if you have multiple properties and you want to just sell them, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. But most people, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's about selling their house, but they want to buy another house. Mm-hmm. And even though the market it's really hot, but also again the competition. So selling is good, but is also buying a good idea right now?
I'm probably gonna ruffle some people in my industry when I say this, but I don't think buying right now is the best thing. They will say yes because interest rates are low, but Eli, that's just elementary stuff for me at this point, right? You're talking about like interest rates are low and that's your only banana peel that you're peeling to make it a good edible product. No. There has to be why else is it a good reason to buy right now? I don't see many other reasons outside of the interest rate being low. You're competing with more buyers. These buyers are hungrier, and they're throwing crazy money at it, right? So the name of the game for me, once again, I'm a different breed. You would say old school breed. The name of the game for me that I was taught is you make your money on the purchase, not on the sale. And if I'm overbuying on the purchase, then I have to be forced to sell high on the back end when I sell it, right? So there's no room for mistake. So that was why for me, as an investor or even as a normal home buyer, you have to buy wisely. I'm not just, guys, my audience out there, I don't want to lose all my buyers.
Let's cancel that contract.
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, once again, if your family's already bursting at the seams and your home's too small, then you got to buy a home, take advantage of the low interest rate, right? But if you're talking about financially, like me, if I didn't have any worries, if I had any kids, any bills, we're overpaying in today's market because you're competing. One of my former football players, he's a pharmacist, and we made offers on 6, 7, 8 homes. We were making above asking. It's just insane. I think one of them we were like $10,000, $15,000 above asking, and I didn't think the home was worth $10,000 to $15,000, but we needed a place. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why it depends. And my answer would be like, it depends. Like, it depends on your family. If you need, because you had a birth in the family, well, you need a home, right? But if those circumstances don't exist for you, then just make sure you buy wisely and just stick to your number. Don't go to a place that would just put you in a bad position.
Nice. Well, thank you, Rick, for sharing that. Let's go back to the real estate industry as a whole. I have several friends that recently started in the world of real estate, maybe 6 months, maybe even some a year or even 2 after quitting their long-time job, right? Mm-hmm. So they're doing really good, by the way. Se ve que le echan ganas on the way they're working. I'm not an expert at all, but you can see when someone's putting in the work, so that's pretty good for them. Now, my question to you is, why the real estate industry so appealing to people?
It's sexy now, man. It's TV got involved, and it's a sexy thing. You got these flipping channels, HGTV, Bravo, $1 Million Listing, and it just became a sexy thing, and it became a glam thing. And you got selling, was it Selling Sunset, or I don't know, the LA one. But it's not like that though, man. It's not, man. I flipped a home in LA, and the contractor that flipped. We used was he was one of the contractors on Flip or Flop, right? And he would tell me TV is not the way the show really plays out. Like, they would have like a small spot of, let's say, mold in the wall, and it's something that he could easily just go ahead and do this, do that to it, and then the problem would be gone. But the TV would be like, no, let's wait till this, and create the da 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 moment, right? And so real estate doesn't operate that way. And also, like, when, like, in the real estate world where they force the agents on TV to see each other, to negotiate and go back and forth and fight like girls, fight like back and forth and have drama, that really doesn't happen in the real estate world. You're doing everything through texting or phone calls, right? So it's a facade. It's not real. The numbers, when you're seeing them on the flipping channels, like, wow, they made $100,000 profit. Well, the numbers that you're seeing, for the people that don't know, they're gross numbers. They're not net numbers. They're not going through the true numbers of all the closing costs. They're only doing some of the closing costs. They're not doing everything. They're not doing, like, if it's a private lending or this or that. And so the true numbers would be substantially smaller. Okay, so it's cool, but it's not as glamorous as you think. Okay, so that's why, and I think social media has made it even more glamorous. We have to do that. So that's why I think it's a cool thing. Yeah, I still love my field though, man. I love it. But
you agree with me that a lot of people are just appealing the commission, unlimited commission, I guess, and also looking at a local level. What I think, and I might be wrong, is that a lot of real estate agents, they put their cars always dressed up nicely, like, and of course maybe some people can think that, oh, I want that lifestyle, I want that. We don't know the backstory, or if they're doing it just because it's social media, and maybe that's kind of like when maybe they're thinking about what they should do next with their careers, with their lives. Maybe that's why it's appealing as well.
Yeah, it's our field can be extremely lucrative, and you are the creator of your own cap, of your own ceiling, right? Like, if I literally want to say I want to close X amount of deals, I'm going to be able to do that, right? But the reason why I love real estate is not necessarily because of commissions or me even being a broker and collecting a percentage off of my agent's commissions. It's more the retirement plan through passive income and owning property or owning real estate assets. So my advice to any person, younger person, or any person who's already an agent in El Paso or across the country is like, we need to practice what we preach. If we are the gatekeepers or the ones who are promoting home ownership, right, and promoting people to invest and doing all that, we need to be leading at the forefront. As leaders in the industry, like, if someone tells me this is a great investment, a realtor, as a buyer, I want to know, why is that a good investment? Just because it's a duplex, it's a good investment? No, that's stupid. Just because a duplex or a triplex has tenants, that makes it a good investment? That's even more stupid. Tell me why. Is there a good capitalization rate? Is there a cash on cash return? Is the cash flow good? That's when you're speaking now the language of retirement, right? And so I think a lot of our realtors we need to get to deeper levels of understanding, and we need to promote us to be the leaders of home ownership. We need to be us buying the property, so that way when we have buyers, they're like, well, he's doing it. He's doing it. I'm going to listen. The proof is in the pudding. I'm going to go ahead and do it, because depreciating assets like cars and stuff, that's good and that validates a bit, but it doesn't mean that you have a good retirement account.
I like how we're already getting to the technical stuff. So let me ask my next question for you, sir. What is one common mistake real estate agents make?
Starting out?
Mm-hmm.
Not saving money, man. Let's say you get 2 or 3 good deals and you're not used to receiving that kind of commission. Let's say you're used to $10-15 an hour in your previous job, and then all of a sudden you become a realtor and you close 2 or 3 deals and you hit $15,000. It's shock. What do? Spend it.
Yeah.
Right? So they spend it instead of reinvesting back into their business plan, reinvesting back into their marketing, reinvesting back into putting money into their systems, into a database, a CRM, getting a team together, postcards, whatever it is to reinvest back into your company or your individual plan. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think the next mistake, if you will, is, I'm going to get technical here, is for any agents who's listening out there, and I do this all the time with my agents, is there's 2 types of ways that you could get lost in real estate, and one of them is a good thing. The other one's not good. There's the income servicing and there's income producing. And an income servicing event is where you have a client, you already have a home under contract, and you're spending half of the time on the day writing contracts, calling inspectors, doing the repairmen, stuff that is boring but is necessary. But that's an income servicing event. Whereas in the other aspect, you're talking about income producing, calling and meeting people, putting yourself in front of someone new, writing an offer. Those are income producing events. So there's a very big distinction. You want to be calling more and less writing contracts. And so many times we get so lost. Oh, we got a contract. And then they have to baby it and nurture it and dale leche, water the plants. And they get so bogged down on that one client, but they don't realize that client's already going to close in 30, 45 days. So you got to put that client on autopilot with great customer service, but on autopilot. Check up on them. This is what you got to do. Boom, 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 boom. Autopilot. But you should be already searching for new clients. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Being more efficient with your time,
Absolutely.
which is going to produce more income.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, senor, for the average person, how can someone tell a good agent from a bad agent?
They're bringing some knowledge to you right away, man, whether it be the neighborhood or whatever the case may be. I mean, I'll give you an example. It's a perfect question that you just asked me, like earlier part in the day. I don't really focus a lot of buyers anymore at this point in my career, but every so often, just so I could, sharpen up my skills, always trying to sharpen my sword, I'll take a buyer here or there, especially if it's a referral. This particular buyer was an investor from out of town. Once it's an investor, I love doing that because I'm an investor myself. And they wanted to buy a property in the historic part of Central El Paso. Well, that's my bread and butter, man. That's where my office is at. I love that. And so I was competing. I didn't know I was competing with another agent. He's like, well, another agent's going to show us a home right after you. I said, yo, this is not how I do business. I told him why, long story short. So I'm like, okay, so be it. I'm game. Let's compete. I'm going to show you this home. After I meet with you on this home, you're going to want to fire the person that you thought it was going to be. He's like, you're that confident? He's like, oh, yes, I'm that confident. He's like, I asked him, where's the other home at? He said, the other home's also in Central Paso. I'm like, oh, this is a done deal. So we went there. And once you're asking the question, how can you tell? He started asking me about crawl space. He started asking me about sediment traps. He started asking me about things that the normal agent necessarily wouldn't understand unless you have bought property in that specific area, Eli, which I have. So I literally walked him through what are the pitfalls that he's going to face in his budget plan. This is exactly how much he's going to spend. Don't spend money here. Spend money here. Double down here. Boom, 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 boom. He walked away with a notebook of knowledge in 30 minutes, and he called the other person and said, look, man, I'm not going to get anything from you. You're just going to show me a home. This guy's already given me a thorough plan. And I feel like he probably gave me too much information because I'm probably not going to buy this home, and I was all in on this home. And so I could have closed that home. But because of the information I gave him, I told him it wasn't a good deal. And he appreciated that. I could have closed my commission. I could have closed.
The knowledge and
Absolutely.
the honesty behind that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me tell you about my experience. I bought my house 6 years ago, and I remember the first real estate agents that were helping me with that. This is something that bothered me a lot. We went to see houses, but their main focus was, oh yeah, you can put a round table here. You can put a trampoline in the backyard. And to be honest with you, I don't need no one tell me how I decorate my house. I need the facts on the taxes, on I don't know, foot traffic. I mean, there's so many other things that I was worried about. But the fact that you focused, it wasn't just one house, because I get it. Maybe, hey, by the way, you can do this. That's fine. But it was just the main focus on that. So I eventually got someone else that, again, asked me questions at first, which is assessing, making sure that they do their discovery to find out what's important to me. And then we went into the houses, and obviously that person took a different approach. And that's again, in my experience, how I was able to tell the difference between just someone. And I know you said this, and when I heard this on a podcast, I was like, you're absolutely right, that anyone can open a lockbox.
Absolutely. And anyone can open a house. The difference is once that house is open, game on. You could tell if someone knows what they're talking about. And that's the difference. And that's why I'm thinking, like, if you are very good with social media, embrace it. You're going to ride the coattails of social media success in our market. But to sustain it, you got to bring knowledge. You got to bring some content, and you got to bring some valuable information that your clients could walk away with. And honestly, guys, let's get away from the real estate side of it. This is just in general with businesses like if someone tells me, Rick, can you analyze a medical clinic? Can you analyze a barber shop? I could analyze any business and figure out a way. I don't know how to cut hair. I don't know how to treat patients. I don't know any of that. But what I do know is that if I were to touch base with a business owner, I could figure out ways where they are overexerting themselves, because I've been in that position where as a business owner, you overexert yourself. And I could figure out ways where I could leverage them so that they could maybe replicate a cheaper version of them. Therefore, they could spend the majority of their time in creativity and acquisition in bigger operational roles, right? And when people do that, then you see growth, right? I call it the puberty phase. Puberty is kind of awkward for teenagers. We're ugly. As you know, teenagers were like in the awkward phase. We start getting pimples and stuff like that, right? And so it's that puberty growth for the small businesses. Like, we all know that we do a better job as business owners than probably our employees, but you're not going to grow and retire that way, right? So the way to grow and retire is to bring leaders amongst your staff and your personnel and the people around you, your vendors. And when you do that, you're going to start seeing some awkward growth because you're going through puberty, right, if you will. But eventually your ultimate plan starts kind of leveling out, and then you're like, okay, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Still a lot of mistakes, but I still see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and that makes sense because, again, not only the real estate industry, every industry that you have to do your homework, you have to make sure that you know what you're doing. And they're always going to be the good people, the bad people, the average person. So, again, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move on to something as I was thinking of what questions I should ask Rick. I mean, you have a vast knowledge and experience. I eventually want to have a real estate agent, a female real estate agent. But when I was thinking on the real estate industry, it seems to me, it is my opinion, and please, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a slight advantage being a female in the real estate world. Again, when leveraging social media, because even before they start their social media account, they already have 2,000 followers, especially if they're pretty, especially if they're young. They'll have that. So I'm like, I wonder if this is maybe one of the few, if not, again, one of the industries that they have an advantage over men when they leverage social media.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit, man. I think as men, we've had a unfair advantage in the workforce with pay and whatnot, historically speaking, as a former history teacher, and it hasn't been right. I think women have done such an amazing job to really fight with grit to get equality, and they've earned everything that they've had. So I'll start off with that. Now, when we're talking about social media, we are in a different era now. Social media, if used correctly, can make you great success. And so I think if you were to put where can a person get an advantage from? Well, you're either got to be funny, right? You got to be smart. You got to be attractive. Fill me in on someone. What are some of the attributes that create a large movement within social media? It's those attributes, right? You got to be funny. You got to be goofy. You got to look good. You got to dress good. Or you got to bring knowledge. So if as you're thinking about jumping into maybe my career or any other career, touch on one of those. You could be the funny realtor. You could be the hot realtor. You could be the intelligent realtor. But at the end of the day, all that should fall under the umbrella of bringing content. Always. No matter how attractive you are as a male or as a female. I know you were focusing on the female side, but it doesn't matter. Can you get an advantage? To answer your question, yes, I really do. But I think you could sustain it even further if you provide the content. It's just a unique field that you're talking about glam, right? They're never gonna put a guy that doesn't know how to dress on $1 Million Listing. They're just not gonna do it. They're not gonna put, even though a guy in Wrangler jeans and looks sloppy, but is super smart, could probably do it. People don't want to see that, dude. They just don't want to see that. They want to see glam and glitz and all that other stuff. So I think you're right on point, but I also think that that goes with men or female to begin with. I think if you know how to play the cards right and make it something glamorous and make it cool and make it hip, I think you'll be able to hit it.
Yeah, and I agree with you because they might have more views, but if they can't capitalize with that and they don't have anything else, that's something else that we have to also check. Rick, now that I have you on, I need to ask some questions about investing, right? I know you're big on Airbnb, rentals, flips. I have known this for a long time, and I'm sure you agree with this, that the vast majority of real wealth comes in real estate, of course. So my question to you is, when it comes to Airbnbs, rental, flipping houses, if someone is new to investing in real estate, what's the easier route or maybe the way to start investing?
Well, get connected with someone. Number one, you got to, I would say, build your team. Your team is going to be, a real estate agent or a real estate professional or broker or someone. I would prefer if you're going to be doing something like this, go with someone who has invested before, that they have some investment experience. Just because they're a licensed agent doesn't mean that they're a qualified agent for your plans. Once again, finding a home is different than actually finding an investment type of deal. Okay, they're able to analyze deals correctly. They're able to put you in contact with the right contractors. You guys are able to develop a budget to keep you on task, because anyone can make a home pretty with an unlimited budget, but that's not the way real estate works. Real estate is making a home look pretty within a confinement of a budget. And so I would say making sure you have a real estate professional, have a contractor in line, making sure that later on you have a CPA or an accountant. But if you are saying you're just wanting to get started, there's different ways in which you can do it. Wholesaling is one of them. Wholesaling, you don't necessarily need a license for wholesaling. All it is that you find a distressed property, you put it under contract or under an assignment deal, which is what it's called, and then you find an investor to buy that deal for you. So in essence, you're marrying the distressed seller. Let's say a bankruptcy, a death in the family, a divorce, a property that has been neglected, and they need to sell fast, right? Well, then the wholesaler comes in and says, "Here's my offer. Let's say I offer you $60,000. You're someone in your family passed away or divorce or bankruptcy. You're a distressed seller, so you sell that property. You say, yeah, I'll get rid of it for 60. Well, then me as a wholesaler then goes and finds an investor, and the investor, I sell it to him for 65. So the difference, or the spread, if you will, 60 to 65 is 5,000. Me as a wholesaler, I collect 5,000, and the investor buys the property for 65. They pay you off, and they pay me off, and they buy it for 65. And I didn't spend one single penny on that deal as a wholesaler.
How can I find an investor if I don't know people that are looking to invest?
That's the thing, though. Like, the people think the process is easy, but it's a slow process, right? You're gonna have. Don't worry about finding the investor, Eli. Find the property. The property is because if you find a good property that has good meat and potatoes, you're talking about like has good margins for profit. You already know one person that probably will buy it. That's me, right? All you have to do is put it on the social media, on your story. Hey guys, I have a property that's I'm selling for 65. I think it's worth 125 when it's renovated. DM me if you're interested, and the cash buyers are gonna come. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you mean now.
Yeah. So like it's kind of like Noah's Ark. If you build it, people will come.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that it all depends on the property, because based on the property now you can think about Airbnb as well, flipping the house depending on the type of house you find, and also the rentals, right? Do you have a preference on any of those?
Right, like I said, there's wholesalers. These are people who necessarily don't have the capital per se. They may have the capital. I don't want to discredit wholesalers who necessarily don't have the full capital to buy a property outright. So they assign it, and then they collect their small fee or their large fee, right? And then you have the investors who all they do is they buy property cash, or they use hard money lending or private lending to acquire property, and then they flip it. And then you have the investors who like to hold property and acquire a rental portfolio, right, with 1-year tenants. But then the new field is that, and you put a little wrinkle with Airbnb. And I have just literally switched the majority of my portfolio to the Airbnb space because the reason why is very simple, and I'll just be nerdy, but for 1 second, I'll just say, look.
Go for it. And if you don't mind also explaining if maybe someone's not familiar with what an Airbnb, I know I use those a lot when I travel outside the country, but for someone maybe not familiar, can you tell us what that is first?
Absolutely. An Airbnb is kind of like a hotel, but it's your home, right? So let's say if a person owns a home and they want to rent it out, but they don't want to rent it out on a 1-year tenant, like the traditional way to a 1-year tenant. So you rent it out on a daily basis. So let's say you're traveling to San Diego and you have a home, but you're not living in that home anymore. You're living in DC, but you still have a home that you kept in San Diego. And so you rent that out on a site called Airbnb. That's the name of the company or the name of the site. And then you rent it out on a daily basis, let's say for $100 to $200 a night. And my family, let's say, rents it out for 5 nights at $200. So now I'm paying you $1,000 for my 5-day trip, and that's way more than I would get with a 1 month of having a tenant that's in the place. So that's the advantage. The clear advantage to having a rental portfolio through Airbnb is that you are getting an enormous amount more on income because you're charging a higher daily rate.
And for the consumer, still cheaper most of the time than a hotel.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not necessarily cheaper. It is, you're right. But also the convenience factor. You're in a home. You're putting your family in a home. They're not in a hotel. So if your mom is like my mom that likes to cook, she can do that, right? So that it creates that ambiance. And sometimes people want to stay in an Airbnb that's close to their aunt or uncle or their family member that they're visiting, right? So that's why it provides for convenience. Whereas a lot of hotels are in a commercial zone sector. Sometimes they're not by residential markets, so therefore it puts them in a drive away. So that's why Airbnb has really taken a unique storm, because I could get an Airbnb, like right now I just purchased another Airbnb property in my hometown, and well, it's not I made it into an Airbnb, and it's 2 minutes walking from my old home when I grew up in Anthony. And I love that. Who would have thought that this poor kid, like, now I have an Airbnb? So that, what did I just do? Yeah, great. People are going to be staying in a commuter town. Why Anthony? Who cares? But people traveling from cruises that want to shop into El Paso or whatever the case. Now I give them a one-stop shop, like middle of the ground shop. Between El Paso and Cruces, Anthony's a perfect spot. So I'm banking on that vision, right? And the idea that whenever I have my family coming in from out of town and they can't stay all at my mom's house, but they want to be close to my mom, instead of staying on my Airbnb properties in El Paso, they want to be closer. They're 2 minutes away and they could stay on my Airbnb property.
Wow, it makes sense. Now, is there such demand for Airbnbs in El Paso?
Yes, I learned that through being one of the newer ones in the space. When I was doing my analysis, kind of like a normal realtor does market analysis when they're looking at helping a client sell their home, there wasn't enough data in the Airbnb space. But I knew my city. I knew my cities, not like Miami or New York or Chicago or LA, that they're destination spots and people travel to destination spot. El Paso is not a destination spot, if you will. But El Paso is big on family, Eli. People travel to El Paso to see their family, and we travel in droves here, and we love to, convivir con la gente y tener amistad con nuestra familia. So all those things lended me to believe, like, I need to double down on this. And then also people here in El Paso, we don't have to think very far to know that we know one person, two people, or three people that go to Juarez to just shop, or they'll go to Juarez for the dentist or the doctor or stuff like that. And so I was banking on that, and it played out. And then I only got hit with the COVID slowdown during March in my Airbnb. Like, I got hit with a strong Mike Tyson uppercut in the face for 3 weeks because there was no travel around the world, right? But then when that opened up, I just revamped the way I marketed my Airbnbs, and then I started marketing more to the healthcare professionals. And it paid off in dividends, because travel nurses, especially since El Paso weren't with what was going on with COVID, people from all over the country were traveling to El Paso to help, thankfully. And they were booking a lot of my Airbnb properties, and for long-term stays.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, they are even more comfortable staying at a house, right? In a house, instead of maybe at a hotel that there's more people, more chance of, getting sick or something.
Yeah, they usually they would travel in teams of 2 or 3 or 4, so they would stay in my Airbnbs, and they felt comfortable because they knew the person that they were staying with, and it just made sense for them. Like, I have an apartment building where 80% of the people that are occupying my apartment building are travel nurses. And at first, the majority of my Airbnb people were traveling through that apartment building. So now it's weird how it's shifted, and that's because I adapted my business plan, and I didn't, instead of saying, oh man, woe is me, or this sucks and I need a bailout, I'm just gonna revamp the way I'm thinking, and I'm gonna target a different audience.
Nice. Senor, let me ask you, in the subject of investing and all that, are the people that, or the ads maybe that, not that guarantee, but they advertise investing property for zero money. Is that real? Is that not real? Is that possible but hard? What is that about, investing property with zero money? Well,
there's one of them is referring to a loan, and the other one's referring to wholesaling. When you see those signs on the street or on the freeway or in major cross streets that say we buy houses cash, that's usually a wholesaler who's looking for a distressed seller in a distressed situation, and they're looking to, rightfully and legally so, capitalize on an opportunity for them. and they will then refer that to an investor themselves. A lot of times the wholesaler can also be a full-blown investor that they have their own money and whatnot. So that's what, when you see those signs, we call those signs in the real estate world, we call those signs bandit signs. Bandit signs are out there. We buy houses cash, we buy houses in any condition, we close in 7 days. All those are great opportunities for a wholesaler and investor. And then the other side is what you're talking about is a loan, like when you say 0% down program and whatnot. I'm not a huge fan of those. I'm not a huge fan of the 0 down for a lot of reasons. You're going into a situation where you have zero equity. Yeah, you go in with 0 down. It's easy, but you didn't earn it, right? And so for me, whenever there's a shift in your life that happens, job growth, job layoff, death, whatever the case may be, job relocation, there's that major shift that everyone goes through. If that shift happens sooner than later, you're going to have a loan where you don't have a lot of equity in your home because you went in with 0% down. So what I try to do is educate my client, educate my consumer, so that they could understand why having some equity position is more important than going in with 0% down. Especially if you're just going to be a homeowner. If you're going to be an investor, then we'll have a different topic on that. But if you're going to be a homeowner and you're going to go with 0% down, I try to educate you as to why there's other options where you could really, because in case you are forced to move a year and a half from now, you're not going to have any equity. And so when you're selling your property on the back end, closing costs, commissions, transfer titles, everything, you're going to be in the red because you went in with 0% down.
Nice. Well, Senor, thank you so much for giving me all those technical stuff. I was really... Again, I know real wealth comes from real estate, so it was very important to ask those questions because I know a lot of, at least my friends are also thinking and getting into that. But again, it's a lot of things out there, even though we cover a lot. But I think that was just maybe just a small thing of the pie, right? Senor, before I go into my other subject, this is something as I was checking you out on social media, I thought it was so cool how you posted when your agents would in your company that they were also having investment properties for themselves. I thought that's so cool. It's not about only getting profit from there and from them selling houses, but making sure that they are also, again, equipped for getting that the money what we talked about, which is the passive income, and also learning more of what you're doing. So I thought that was really cool.
Love that. It's kind of almost a thing for our company. We cannot just be real estate agents. I want, eventually we're going to get tired of closing a commission deal, man. And there's nothing more beautiful than waking up and you have a few properties under your belt, whether it be 1 or 2 or whether it be 15 or 20. And you're at your mom's house eating buñuelos, and then you're like, you just get an alert that says, oh, someone booked your property, or your rent just came in from this property, and you're eating at the comfort of your mom's house. I love that. I absolutely.
But not only you love that for yourself, but you want to share the wealth.
Absolutely.
That just,
and so whenever we talk about to our agents, I'm like, you're gonna get tired of closing commissions. I promise you that, because you can't be everywhere. You're not omniscient. You're not omnipresent. You're not like the creator of heavens and earth. So you can't be everywhere at every time. So as a result, you have to figure out ways where you could leverage yourself and therefore get some passive income. So we really promote that. It's part of our culture. Be an investor, because then that puts you in a better mindset even to be a regular realtor, because then you're not overly as stressed out to be like, I got to close this one deal. No, if you have a bad month, you have passive income that's going to come to you, and then that puts you in a better mood, and the energy then feeds off of it, and you're able to close some regular deals.
Then that helps out even the morale, like knowing that it's not only an 8 to 5, even though it's not an 8 to 5, but it's just not another company, another job. They see you vested in their success, not only, again, bringing in money for the company, but for their own success. So I just thought that was really cool when I saw that, Senor. So kudos to you. Congrats on that, by the way. Now, talking about the agents that you have, what's the hardest part of dealing with so many agents in your company?
You're like a mom or dad, now I understand what my mom and dad, like whenever, I don't know, being part of a Mexican family, like my mom, she still forgets our names. She's like, tú Ricardo, tú David, tú Saúl, tú. Yeah. And then I'm like, she's spitting out different names. And I'm like, man, that's how I feel sometimes. If you are an active leader in any sector, I'm not, let's not just talk about the real estate world, but any sector, you're going to have people that are going to want to pick your brain. And allowing that to take place is great because they learn, but it also puts you in where your rhythm is choppy for the day because you're constantly feeding people your knowledge. That you're talking about the OPs, other people's effort, other people's money, other people's brain. And so I'm constantly feeding my brain to them, or my energy to them, my effort to them. And that's okay because I chose that life, right? The goal is if I feed enough to them, they will be able to replicate it and they will be able to compound it, and then their success will grow from it, right? And so that's a unique thing as to why I don't know. There's so many different type of personalities. I have an extrovert. He's just, he hears music in the office and he just starts dancing, and he's the life of the party. Also, my brother, he's funny as heck. He should have been a comedian / realtor. There's different personalities, and then I have one of my other guys, David. He's an introvert, but he's a closer and he gets the job done. He's not afraid to pick up the phone and call. And no le da vergüenza para nada. And so it's just managing each person.
Adapting to every single person.
They're all
right?
different.
Yeah.
I have some of my females that are high strung, and some of my females that are not, and you just have to navigate through all those unique personalities, and it works. It's fun.
What's the biggest challenge? Maybe that can be, but right now, owning your own brokerage company, what's the biggest challenge that you have currently, sir?
Lack of time, man. Lack of time is a tough thing. Unfortunately, we're attached to this device so much. It's hard if you are trying to be really successful in any one aspect of business or entrepreneurship, is that your phone, everything around it, you're going to feel that you have no time. So the way I do it now is I have a very robotic approach to life. I wake up at 4 religiously, the very latest 4:30, unless I'm telling myself, I have to tell myself today I'm going to sleep in longer. So I have to, it's like a reward for me. Whereas most people, it's their norm. I'm just going to sleep in and be lazy ass. I'm just going to sleep in. For me, it's a reward almost, right? Because I feel that if I could get more done, because once again, as a leader, your day starts getting choppy once the normal business day starts going in, because you start getting pulled in different directions from a lot of people. And so the way to offset that for me is I just wake up earlier. I have my me time. I'm in the gym by 5:30 at the most, and I'm working out, getting my mind right. I meditate, I read. By the time I'm in the office, I'm already putting on podcasts, 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different podcasts before my first staff shows up. So by the time it's like 8:30 or 9 a.m. in the office, when people are starting to show up, I've already listened to maybe 6 podcasts of different things: compounding interest, how to create more wealth through index fund investing, new wrinkles in the Airbnb industry, how to be a better leader in the broker. There's something that I'm picking up. So that way, when my agents hear me talk, they know I'm bringing it. They know I'm prepared. They know I care for their best interests. They know I care to bring them some knowledge. And so it's the lack of time, man. It's really the lack of time. That's why you got to have a robotic approach to your day. You can't just
very
be
structured as far as.
Yeah.
How long have you been waking up early, sir? It sounds like it's been.
It's been a while. So you're talking about. It's been like 15, maybe 12 to 15 years.
Okay, so it's automatic now.
Automatic.
What advice do you have for people, and this includes myself, that we read a podcast, we read a book, watch a podcast, and we do have that initial motivation to wake up early, to read a book, watch a podcast in the morning, but that only lasts about a week, maybe 2, 3, but then something happens and it's lost.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you can give?
Start small, man. You got to scaffold your victories. And scaffolding, for those people who don't know, when you're let's say someone's going to paint an entire skyscraper, you don't paint the top floor, you paint the first floor and work your way up, right? And so that's the way I would do. You scaffold your victories. Your victories are not going to be home runs. You have to create singles and doubles. You're not going to be hitting home runs every time you go to bat. And so for me is, if let's say you wake up, Eli, at 6:45. Well, what time do you normally wake up?
Right now at 6, because I train all the way to the website. It takes me 30 minutes. I've been doing this consistent for 4 weeks already. Okay. So right now at 6 to get there at 7.
Okay, so let's say you tell me I'm your mentor and you say, Rick, I need help and this is what I want to do. I wouldn't put you on a 4 a.m. plan like me because you would fail. I would put you on a 5:45.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you think, Rick, come on, this is silly. 15-minute difference. I could do this. Well, try it. See if your body doesn't notice a difference. Your body is a robot, bro. They notice. Like, it sounds bad, but like by 4:05, 4:10, I'm in the restroom. My body already, for the audience, I know that sounds weird, but like at 4:05, 4:10, my body's already telling me I got to go to the restroom. And so that is how I've already ingrained the habits for myself. It wasn't like that at first. There's a lot of kicking and screaming internally for me. So if you're waking up at 6 and you say, Rick, what do I need to do? I'm not going to tell you wake up at 4. Wake up at 5:45 and do that consistently for a month. Mm-hmm. And then once you do that for a month, then you're going to be like, okay, what am I going to do in that extra 15-minute period? Well, don't waste it. Don't shit it away. Now you have 15 minutes. So you're going to, for 5 minutes, you're going to meditate. 10 minutes, you're going to read a chapter. Whatever. Or you're just going to make coffee, drink your water. Tranquilo, whatever the case, but capitalize on 15 minutes.
Poquito a poquito, and that makes a lot of sense because, and you're absolutely right. If I was to wake up at 9, 10, 11, and all of a sudden I want to wake up at 5, I'm going to be motivated for 3 days, 4 days, and then I'm going to go back to my old ways, right? And then I'm going to put the excuse that, no, that doesn't work. But in reality, it does work. It's just the approach that you took to do so. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like working out, man. You like, I don't like waking up to go to the gym. I know people do. Maybe they're better skilled at it than me. I like waking up because I like working, but I don't like waking up because I like working out. So, but me da hueva. I'm just human, right? But once I'm up and once I'm in the gym, it's game on. I'm good. Then that laziness it is gone, and you're in the gym. You might as well go all out, right? So it's really just like your working out mode. Like, I'm not going to expect a person who's never lifted the bar, which is 45 pounds. I'm not going to expect, he's weak as heck, never lifted the bar, to go ahead and put 300 pounds on that bar. That's not realistic. That's not his anatomy is not going to allow him to do that. So let's start with less than the bar, or let's start with 5 more pounds, whatever the case may be. And then you scaffold your victories until you get to the point where your strength is better. So the brain is just the same way. You wire it consistently to not give in to your fears and to your apprehensions and to your laziness, and you rewire it enough, and you do that through a course of time. Eventually, it's going to seem like second nature. That's why for me, my body at 4:05, 4:10, I'm on the shitter. It's programmed for me.
Yeah. No. And again, that makes perfect sense. And when I think, as you were saying this, I was thinking of Shane that wakes up at 3 because he opens at 4, I believe. And one thing he mentioned was that he does that because he wants to be known, not that he wants to impress people, but himself as a man of discipline, right? And what that is not breaking your own word as far as this is what I'm going to do. This is the reason why I'm doing it. And again, I'm not doing it for anyone else. It's just I'm doing it for myself. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's a little bit of what you talked about. So I appreciate that. Now that we're in that mindset, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Hopefully you don't mind. Now that you have this mentality, now that you have this mindset that your core values are, they're very specific. You know your core values, you know your mindset. Do you find it difficult finding a partner, meaning a girlfriend, a wife that shares the same discipline, mindset, core values?
Well, the answer should be yes. It should always be yes, because if you have unique attributes, unique goals, you really know exactly what you want. Eli, if I'm giving you advice, like I always tell this to my agents, donkeys don't hang around unicorns. Unicorns don't hang around donkeys, right? And so when you examine that, there's a verse in the Bible that says you shouldn't therefore never be unequally yoked with someone. The idea of being yoked is harnessed, right? They used to harness animals back in the day so that they could create some type of product like milk or butter or whatever the case may be. So if you have a donkey with a unicorn, there's different energies, right? And so if you want to be a unicorn, unicorns are rare find. you have to act and behave and have the energy and the output and, like you're talking about, the discipline factors to be a unicorn. So it should be hard. It should be hard, especially if I know overall it's going to be a hard thing, but you shouldn't be looking for it. You should be examining how you could get better, how you could create more value, how you could, sometimes pain is good, sometimes a breakup is good, because it's just going to get you more refined, get you to the end goal at mind. So if I could give anyone advice on that, I'm still trying to figure that out myself all the time, is the best version of yourself is eventually going to find the best version of your partner. And so that's what you would want. Like, if I could give you advice, is, create the best version of yourself, and you'll find it. I believe everyone does.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes my daughter and I, we I don't know, spend hours talking on subjects like that. And I was also telling her is that it's not that you're a good husband, a good wife, or a good worker. You have to be a good person overall, and that's going to play a role. You cannot be a good person and a bad husband, or you cannot be again a bad person but then you're a good person. I don't think, and again, I don't know, it seems that you think the same way. You have to work on yourself, make sure that you yourself are put together, and then that's when you're going to be able to do everything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mindset. Just like we were talking about waking up early, just putting in the time to whatever it is that you want is the final outcome, right? When you do that enough and consistently through a period of time, I think you'll get rewarded somehow. The problem, though, Eli, is that we don't get rewarded the way we would want. Sometimes, or as fast, and that's the uniqueness. I remember a quick story. I was a broke college student in LA, and I had I think $5 to my name, and I wasn't getting paid until maybe the next week, and I was broke, man. I remember I opened up the fridge, and I had, I think, barbecue sauce and ice in my fridge. And I'm like, man, I'm just gonna go to the grocery store, see what I could drum up with those $5. And God forbid, because I never asked my parents for any money, man. I just was not like that. They were in their own struggles, and I was a grown man. I decided to leave on my own. I have to, I have to be able to do it. And so it was that energy that I created, right? When we're talking about we don't get rewarded the same way we would want. I wanted like money, or I wanted something, right? So there was a family member, or if not family, there was a family that was behind me, and the mom and daughter and a little girl, and they were scrounging for money, and I felt convicted, and I gave them my last money. And so I put my grocery items away, and I was starving, and I gave her my last set of money, and I wasn't going to get paid for several days. And so I went home, barely made it to my house because I was almost on empty on my car too. It was bad. It was bad. But I had my house, bro. I was
that was, you're a house owner.
Homeowner, right? Yeah. And I didn't know how I was gonna pay for it, right? So it was 4 hours later, stomach's growling, everything, and then my buddy Tim called me. He's like, "Yo, my dad was really impressed by you. He was just impressed with your energy and your drive, man." He's like, "We're watching the Laker game, and he's cooking up some steaks, and he's like, he wants to invite you over. You want to come over?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, heck yeah." So I wanted, once again, I was trying to seek my reward or my final outcome through monetary, right? And I got in a different way. I got in an immediate way. Like, I needed food. I got food, right? I got food, and that's what So when I went, started talking to him, he gave me food. There was so much food, bro. They gave me leftovers. I ate the same thing for a week, but it was
extremely happy.
I was extremely happy, bro. I even said I'll bring the barbecue sauce, barbecue sauce to the party, man. Yeah, so it was one of those, man. I just, you put out enough good energy and good aura to people, you may not get rewarded then, and you may not get rewarded in the same format, but you'll be blessed somehow down the road, man.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that story. That was a really good story. Yeah. Talking about that, Senor, so far, looking back, what are some of the biggest accomplishments looking back, both personal life and in business?
My personal accomplishments, man, they're insignificant compared to the idea of just being a dad, man. I love being a dad. They come up with some random stuff that they just keep you energized. I think that's my biggest accomplishment, just being there for my kiddos, being a good brother, being a good, a good uncle, a good son. I think those have been my biggest accomplishments, man. I'm at my parents' house after this podcast. I'm gonna go to my parents' house right now, go check up on them. I'm usually bugging my parents 3 to 4 times a week. I'm that kind of son to try to go and I love spending time with my mom or dad. Businessman, it all fades, man. If I lose my business, I could build it up again. I know how to build it again. So I wouldn't say me owning 20 some properties and being able to retire now if I wanted to. It's not that, man. Honestly, when money drives you, then that's your leading foot and that's your leading discussion. But money doesn't drive me. It's an outcome to my hard work. But at the end of the day, all that could be taken away pretty quickly, and I'm aware of that. And as a result, I don't gravitate to it as most other people would.
What keeps you motivated as you're talking about your accomplishments, the things that you have done, which are, again, they're impressive. The fact is that, I mean, like you said, you could retire if you wanted to already. So what keeps you motivated, wanting to wake up, wanting to do better the next day, the day after that?
I really do like serving other people, man. I get excited at the idea that today would be a day that one of my agents is just going to kick ass. I get excited at the idea that they're doing well, that they're getting closer and closer to getting that aha moment, that grand moment for them, or picking up another property under their investment portfolio, that I'm helping a family get to the next destination, that I'm helping a family acquire another investment property. Just being a mentor to as many people as possible in my own fashion, in my own way, that keeps me motivated. I mean, I wake up enjoying life, man. I know life sucks sometimes, man, and I really do wake up enjoying life. I try to kick ass every day. Every day I try to beat the day. So that's my motivation. When you do it so much and so often, consistently for a period of time, it's hard for you not to impact your immediate circle. Because if you hang around a lazy person enough, and then his friends are lazy, two things are going to happen, Eli. You're going to become extremely lazy, or you're going to feel so uncomfortable that that's not going to be your group anymore. There's no in between. And if you reverse that, if you're around winners and you're not a winner, you're either going to be so uncomfortable that you're going to quit, or to acclimate and assimilate as part of the group, you got to become them. And to become them, you seek habits that they have. The way they speak, the way they dress, their mannerisms, everything that they do, you start seeing what they do to make them successful. The way they wake up early. Look, you had another person, what was his name?
Shane.
Okay, so Shane, you said that he wakes up at a certain time because he has his own gym, right? I'm not surprised. That's what winners do. See what I'm saying?
That's the mindset.
You're not like, oh my gosh, because that's what it's impressive for others. When I see that, I'm like, yes, there's people out there like that. Yes, like that are doing that are just kicking ass and doing that. I could love that. I love hearing stories like that. They take pride in their own product. That's his business. With his family, and they're waking up that early. Yes, but I'm not surprised hearing it, because you could tell when someone is committed to their craft.
Yeah, déjate como dices tú. It's not only about the money, their business. Yeah. When you talk to him, like the mindset, how comfortable, how successful they know they are. And then something I'm going to ask you next, but when I ask him, hey, so you have any goals, anything that you have next? You know what? I'm happy the way I am right now. And I just take every day as it is, and I'm just excited about that. And for me, I wasn't expecting that. I consider myself someone really happy. And one of the things that makes me happy is having a goal, a project, something that, como dices tú, I sometimes can't sleep thinking of, I just want to wake up already next day because I have so many things to do, like in a positive way, So when he threw that off, like, oh, okay, I thought that maybe you were going to share the same thing. I was, oh, no, it's because I want this. I have this big goals. But for him, it was just, you know what, it's just me knowing that I'm living, that I'm in the moment. that's it. I take it one day at a time. I'm like, oh, that's a really nice approach on that.
Yeah.
With that said, ¿qué te falta a ti, Rick? Like, what are you have any goals? 5-year goal? Any goal in 10 years?
I mean, I have the same process as your previous guest. I would say is I operate in the now. I operate in the day, right? I do live day to day, and but within that, I do have end goals, right? Like I want to be able to have my boutique brokerage all over the state of Texas, right? And I want it to be where it stays small, but just cold-blooded, amazing customer service and high-end, as helping as many people as possible. So I don't want to get to a point where we have 500 agents in one office. I want to be where I develop the leaders within the company that give me the loyalty, and we open up offices all over Texas, and we have 20, 30 agents in each of those offices. I don't ever want to be 150 agents per each office, because then I feel that my vision will get sloppy. I want to be able to consistently travel the world with my parents, show them the parts of God's beautiful earth that they never would have imagined seeing. That's what we've been doing consistently prior to COVID. I mean, we took them fly fishing to Alaska. We're taking them to Hawaii. My dad's been to Jerusalem, different parts of the world. He got a chance to baptize someone. This is more the religious side, but he got a chance to baptize someone in the Jordan River. And for a pastor, that's like the culmination. That's like, wow, that's a really cool thing, right? So I have a lot of unique personal plans that I want to do. Take care of my family, my brothers and sisters and whatnot, but travel the world, man. I will spend money on seeing this beautiful earth, man. That's the way to do it.
Is your plan still to climb Mount
Kilimanjaro?
Yes, thank you for pronouncing that before me.
Yeah, it still is. I just need to get my butt in gear to that. It still is. I wouldn't mind doing that once the world opens up again. Travel and climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and who knows, maybe Mount Everest, but I need to get some new knees for that. Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, so far I have enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I know that and I know a lot of people. We might not be a lot, but I know that again, a lot of people reach out to me, even people that are not friends. They say, you don't know the impact that you're making. I'm like, what? I know I'm making a fool of myself. I know that, you know. But to hear, and I can share this with you in detail after, but I got a message from someone that I don't know, not part of my close friends or anything, said, you know what, man, that was motivational. Thank you for doing that. And for me, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And again, hearing you, the conversation, what you think, I know that a lot of people will benefit from that. So
I hope so, man. I hope so. Any way that we could help, you're doing the right thing, Eli. Trying to get the word out, especially during a tough time in COVID. I think people need to just gravitate and hold on to some positive things. The world sometimes sucks, but you know what? Keep your head up. I remember finishing up. I went to a Forbes conference in Boston a couple years back, and one of the people that was getting interviewed was a YouTuber. He was like a 20-year-old YouTuber, and he's a millionaire. And they were talking to him about what are some of the steps and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, honestly, is embrace the suck. And I was like, what? And I'm like, this is what I flew to a Forbes conference for, to hear a 20-year-old. But then it resonated with me. Like, it's true. Embrace the suck. Like, you start off and you're not an all-star. You suck. And you were talking about it. And I was hearing your story. And I'm like, that's my story when I first started speaking and whatnot. You're like, I don't even like hearing my voice, man, on air. And so you just got to get used to like this whole microphone thing. It's awkward for a lot of people, right? But then eventually you just get more comfortable with it. So my advice to you and my advice to anyone out there is just embrace the suck. Don't worry about what people think about you. Just practice your craft and do it with amazing grit, and eventually you'll get better.
Señor, thank you. It means a lot coming from someone like you, like yourself. So again, thank you. The last subject I want to cover, and I know you're really big into this. You already talked about it, but I want to get some specifics around mentoring, coaching. I know that is one of your big passions. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, why is that?
I guess because I always had a passion. I was a leader within my church back when I was doing that. I was also teaching and coaching. So I think it's one of I don't have a lot of gifts. I think it's one of the few gifts that I do have. we're talking about what can be practiced and what can be developed and what's a gift. I think, mentoring, coaching, and teaching and helping others is one of my gifts. So any chance I get an opportunity to share with the right people that are willing to put in the work, it's something that I really gravitate to. So it's something that I really enjoy doing.
Coming from a family of pastors, you think maybe that's also something?
Probably. Probably you start seeing it modeled, consistently. My mom being a leader, my dad being a leader, my brothers and whatnot. So I would say so. I think it makes it easier. I just enjoy it, man. I enjoy giving of that. In a correct way. So maybe, who knows, maybe later on I do like a different company or different entrepreneurship plan where I just completely just have a mentorship program, not necessarily just for people in my company, but just in general.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Senor, how can someone tell a good mentor or coach from a bad one? And I see this as a problem because just because they have money in the field of, let's say, real estate, mm-hmm. does it mean that they make a good coach, a good mentor? How can I tell someone apart, a good one from a...
Well, they're just willing to give your time. They're willing to give the energy and effort. They're not afraid of you replicating their process, right? And so... my dad always said, "You're the secret sauce, Rick. You're the secret sauce," and that was his way of motivating me. Like, everyone. And he's like, "Not everyone can make your mom's enchiladas, dude. And like your mom could give the recipe out in detail to 500 people, but it's still not gonna taste like your mom's enchiladas." And I'm like, okay. So with that in mind, I gave freely. I give freely of my energy and my time and my whatever little knowledge I have in my brain. Because at the end of the day, there's still the secret sauce, right? And I feel like I'm a secret sauce when it comes to certain things that I do. And you are a secret sauce. I think everyone has their own unique niche. So find your niche. And don't be afraid to give to others. And I think the value is going to come back this way. That's why whenever I do a podcast or whenever I do any teaching moment or whatever the case may be, there's the fear that someone will take that and run with it and you won't get rewarded from it. But so be it. That's life. That's life, man.
And also you can tell, hopefully if you're seeking advice, you're at a stage of your life that you can tell that if someone's willing to give you their time and also sincere about, hey, this is what I'm doing, go ahead and do it instead of, I'm going to keep this for me because I don't want you to make more money than me or whatever that is. I mean, you can tell. But that was just a question that I always had as far as, okay, if I seek for advice from someone, how can I know that I'm getting it from the right place? And I think you already talked about some of the ways that you can find out why. Mm-hmm. Senor, you do a lot of mentoring, especially with the new agents, I suppose. So when you're working with someone new and they seek help and they ask you for your help, what are the main things that you focus on first, or what are the must-have to become successful, if that makes sense to you?
Developing their network and their sphere of influence right away. Immediately, we want to try to tap in on the people that they know, so that way, and especially in my field, you want to be able to maximize that opportunity. So let's say you're going to jump into my field. I want to know who your barber is. I want to know who your doctor is, where you go to church, where you don't go, your mechanic and whatnot. We want to be able to take from your brain people that you just think are normal people, and you need to exchange those positive conversations, so that way because these people are also homeowners, that eventually whenever the idea of buying or selling or investing comes up, they think of you because you are in their forefront. And so that's what we try to capitalize on, expanding on their database, their current database, creating opportunities that you can meet your database on a more regular basis. And then you send them a campaign, you send them a newsletter, you send them a marketing idea. And so that eventually all you're doing is planting the seed, planting the seed, and eventually you turn back, and then that plant is going to harvest some fruit for you, right? And then outside of that, when you're creating your own marketing campaign, so it's just a consistency of that. You can't expect to put a for sale sign and expect to do well.
Yeah, no, and it makes a lot of sense as far as investigating your immediate circle, because maybe you're teaching someone really good habits about discipline, everything really good. You're showing them examples. But if they go back home and their wife, well, hopefully they don't divorce after feedback, but their circle of friends if you can't control that, regardless of how well you train them or you gave them positive feedback, but if they go back to a negative circle, I mean, that's going to backfire and all that time is going to be wasted. So it really makes sense to first focus on that. Señor, my other question, the word potential. Do you still hate it? And if yes, tell me less why.
I just don't like it. I don't like potential. There's another word that I don't like. I don't like procrastination. When I hear someone say I procrastinated. So potential and procrastination are two of my least favorite words. Potential is just you haven't stepped out, man. Oh, you have potential. No, you suck. You suck because you haven't put in the discipline. Potential means lack of discipline for me. Like, no, when potential meets discipline, you'd like, wow, that person's amazing. So there's something missing. So same thing with procrastination. I don't think like, I just haven't got around to it. Well, there's a lot of things that are right now or as soon as I leave, I'm going to have to get to right now, right? But I don't believe in procrastination. It just wasn't that important enough, And when you make it a priority, you get to it. So procrastination, I don't believe in consistently. Like all of us are procrastinators, but you just put it off. You just put it off. It's like working out. You put it off. Eating right. You put it off. Calling your mom, if you haven't called her in 5 months, you just you put it off. It's just not that important enough. That's it.
There's no such thing as I don't have time. It was just not your priority.
Yeah.
Wow. Señor, before I ask you my last question, once again, I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I mean, I value time. I know that, again, you can be doing other things, but you giving me your time, your knowledge and everything. So, again, I sincerely want to thank you for that. The last question that I ask my guest is, what is one thing that you love about El Paso and one thing that maybe you would change or maybe improve about our hometown?
There's not one thing that I mean, there's so many things that I love about the city of El Paso. The food, the environment, the culture, the vibrancy. It's, that whole hashtag El Paso Strong. It really is that. I lived in LA and I lived in New York City. And though I love those two respective places, look at where I'm at, man. I came back. I made it in New York and I did fine in LA as well. I could have stayed there. But I came back because El Paso's home and it still feels like home. And I missed it immensely when I was living in New York City. So the one thing I love, man, is just the vibrancy of the people. That's what it is. It's the fabric of our community. So if there's anything that I would change is the idea that El Paso can be a gateway to prosperity and business growth. I think a lot of our young business professionals, they leave and they don't come back. I was one of the few. I'm sure there's other people, but I think more people like me that have experience and left and maybe go to bigger metroplexes. I want them to come back and then give them their knowledge and give them their time and start a foundation, start a community thing, start a business, because they're homegrown El Pasoans, and then they just got the unique flavors from another city, and then they put it back into our city, and it's going to create for a better overall product in El Paso. That's what I would suggest. If there's anything that we should do, is just so that we could create a bigger surge economically that way.
Yeah, and I think it's happening already. It's still slow, but as I was doing my research, or who can I invite, what's going on out there, the fact is there's a lot of people out there doing it, already putting themselves out there, either business, art, music, whatever it is. So it is happening, but I agree with you when we compare it to maybe other markets.
Yep.
So nice. Señor, once again, hopefully we can continue staying in touch. But again, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it for all your audience, man.
Nice.
That's
all I have. Adios.
You have a good one.